Good evening. Welcome to Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only LGBTQ+ daily evening television news, broadcasting live and available on demand. We're available on all smart televisions, including Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, Amazon Fire TV, YouTube, and Facebook. It's time to queer up the news. It's Thursday, July 13th, 2023, and we are live and literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we are going to tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
This is the world's first live daily LGBTQ evening news show, literally out of the closet and into the headlines on Queer News Tonight with Al Ferguson.
And I know you're happy to see me because that means Al Ferguson's not here. Hi, everyone. I'm your anchor at Queer News Tonight, Julio Capo. And this evening, we bring you the news of and a perspective representing the LGBTQ+ community from South Florida, America, and across our planet.
This is the world's first and only unedited live LGBTQ+ evening news show. Whatever happens unique in LGBTQ+ news, you will see it and hear it.
Hotspots Magazine, Happening Out Television Network, is a nonprofit 501c3 media company in the same model of PBS and NPR, but designed for the LGBTQ+ community. Our mission is to support the 10 pillars of our LGBTQ+ community. We want to inform and educate the key issues of our Black community, Latino, lesbian and queer women, trans, student youth, seniors, HIV/AIDS healthcare, business, social justice, and faith. Help us support our community.
We are part of one of the largest LGBTQ+ media companies in America, Hotspots Magazine and Happening Out Television Network. Our magazine is celebrating 38 years of the LGBTQ+ experience, and our television news, talk, and entertainment shows support our mission to educate the LGBTQ+ and broader community.
All right, now let's welcome anchor Elijah Manley. Elijah is a community organizer, an activist, and formerly the youngest ever candidate for the Florida House of Representatives. Amazing. He is the owner of Benchmark Strategies, a South Florida consulting firm. Hey, Elijah.
Welcome, welcome. In the gay agenda, Out Professionals SoFlo hosts meaningful networking for LGBTQ+ professionals on September 13th. Meaningful Networking for LGBTQ+ professionals, SoFlo by Out Professionals, is scheduled on September 13th from 5 to 8 p.m. South Florida is one of 9 chapters of OutPro's growing national networking of career-building events for LGBTQ+ professionals and supportive allies. The purpose of this mixer is to allow participants to make new connections with fellow LGBTQ+ community members of diverse backgrounds. The group will be meeting at Union Kitchen and Bar in Wilton Manors. Participants will get to connect over cocktails and global cuisine. For more details, you can visit outprofessionals.com.
And next, let's welcome anchor Bob Hentschel. He is a professional accountant and is on the committee of My Hollywood Pride. He is a member of multiple gay Disney Facebook groups, and including Gay Days Monorail Pub Crawl. Hey, Bob.
Good evening. In the gay agenda, My Hollywood Pride planning meeting on August 14th. After a successful My Hollywood Pride celebration this year, the organizers are all set to plan for an even more glorious 2024 Pride event in Florida. The initial planning meeting will be held on August 14th. My Hollywood Pride is the LGBTQ+ Pride celebration intended to showcase the City of Hollywood's commitment to the LGBTQ+ community. The festival encompasses educational, fun, and engaging events that showcase the essence of gay pride, unity, love, and acceptance. The planning committee plans to continue offering the same fun experience next year. To find out more or sign up for their email list, go to myhollywoodpride.com.
And last but certainly not least, our buddy, anchor Gregg Shapiro, an inductee into the Chicago LGBT Hall of Fame. Gregg is the author of 9 books. His entertainment coverage, including celebrity interviews, runs in a variety of print and online publications. Hey, Gregg.
Howdy. And it's Happy National Delaware Day.
Oh.
So y'all, I'll be stopping in Rehoboth Beach, actually, in August while I'm on my book tour. In the gay agenda, SOFFA meets on July 26th. SOFFA is a twice-monthly support group for significant others, family, friends, and allies of transgender people. The group's next meeting will be held on July 26th at Sunserve, Wilton Manors, from 10 a.m. to noon. SOFFA is intended for those who wish to better understand and support their trans loved ones. The group is available in person and online via Microsoft Teams. However, pre-registration is recommended. It's a free event, and you can register at sunserve.org/SOFFA.
So many great things to look forward to. We are the reporters for Queer News Tonight, and this evening we begin with the queer headlines. The LGBTQ plus community in South Florida and across America is diverse. Our community across the world is vast. And here are the bullet points of the queer news for today, Thursday, July 13th. Let's begin by queering up South Florida and Florida. Wilton Manors Stonewall Pride returns as an Illumination Night parade on June 15, 2024. June Pride Month is over. We are pretty sure that presidential candidate and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is happy about that. But it's never too early to think about Pride Month 2024. South Florida's Stonewall Pride Parade made a major announcement today that the parade will return on the world-famous Wilton Drive on Saturday, June 15th, 2024. The big news is a modification to the street festival and parade. The street festival will begin at 3 p.m. as hundreds of organizations will participate with booths for the 2024 festival. The breaking news is that the parade will move to a night illumination parade that will step off at 8 p.m. from Fort Lauderdale High School to 5 Points. Floats, motorized units, and walking groups will plan on being illuminated for the estimated 60,000 parade participants. Stonewall Pride Parade will be broadcast live by Hotspots Magazine Happening Out Television Network on Roku and Apple Television by Queer News Tonight anchor Al Ferguson. More than 100,000 people watched the 2023 streaming broadcast. Stonewall Pride Parade and Festival is one of Florida's largest pride events. Stonewall is produced by the nonprofit 501c3 Hotspots Happening Out Media Network. Stonewall 2024 will likely be the largest in its history as it will coincide with the fall 2024 presidential election. A huge number of celebrities and politicians have participated in Wilton Manor Stonewall, including legislatures like the likes of Hillary Clinton and so many, many more. So get ready for our nighttime celebration coming on June 15, 2024. What do y'all think? I have to say, I think it's always cool to update it and change it up a little bit, keep it interesting. And I'm excited about this. I think this is really also Gay Pride Month is every.
That's right.
But also just
all year long.
All year long, girl.
Well, it is reassuring to hear that Stonewall Pride will be returning, especially after so many Pride events here in Florida were canceled in 2023, and it's unclear if they will be returning at all. And a night illumination parade, let's say, is going to make such a big difference, better than standing out in the sun all the time.
Or the rain.
People will be grateful for that.
Yeah.
Good. My only concern, and I hate to throw a damper on joy, but a coworker of mine brought to my attention that apparently there was a bashing in Coconut Grove last week, and in my view, a nighttime parade equals a greater security threat. We've all walked Wilton Manors. There's a lot of bushes people can hide behind. And, that's my only concern.
Do you think the evening would lend itself more to possible
I have a different concern. My concern is that it's the evening. People are not going to be looking at the parade. They're going to be in the bars, probably drinking, dancing, and doing whatever gays do at night.
I was kind of thinking that too, that is, I wonder by the evening time, how many folks are going to stick, I bet that is, we make sure that we do.
Be
right?
there,
Like that is like you be there and you make sure that you support and like, and I'm sure that, you know, we keep each other safe too.
I
right?
can't speak for the youngsters, but I remember back in the day, you didn't go out till 10 or 11 o'clock to begin with.
I need a disco nap now.
There's that too. But if I'm coming out, I'm not looking
For a
at the
year from
parade
now.
most of the time.
Right.
Like,
What are you
hunters.
doing, Elijah?
They're in hunters. They're in drink. They're like, but I'm sure there will be a big
Yeah,
audience.
and I'm sure that the bars will probably also encourage people to go and see the parade.
And one of the things I love about that too is that all the doors are open and like parade, like that is like during the space, like the lines are blurred between the parade and the nighttime, like because we're all in there together celebrating and honoring.
The reality is there's really only 2 bars that are somewhat off the street, and that's Hunters and Alibi.
In the parking,
and
right, the parking lot.
And their
Trust
parking
me,
lot
they're
comes
going to
in.
shove it into the parking
Right,
lot,
definitely.
and they're going to, I mean, all the bars are going to be serving all up and down the street.
Sure.
We're excited. We're going to be there and we'll show up in large numbers because that's right. The presidential election is there and they don't want us there, which means we will be
there for sure.
All right, well, next, let's queer up courts. A teacher, a drag queen, a pole dancing studio, and others sue Montana over drag ban. A group of 9 plaintiffs, including a brewery, a theater, and a public school teacher, has filed a federal lawsuit to challenge Montana's far-reaching drag ban. The lawsuit, filed in U.S. District Court on July 6, alleges that House Bill 359 unconstitutionally restricts the First Amendment right to free expression by attempting to ban drag performances. The bill, passed by the state's Republican lawmakers in May of this year, bans both sexually oriented performances and drag shows that are not sexual from schools, libraries, and other public venues, with fines up to $10,000 for repeat offenses. Calling HB 359, quote, a breathtakingly ambiguous and overbroad bill motivated by anti-LGBTQ plus animus, end quote. The lawsuit alleges that HB 359 poses a content and viewpoint-based restriction on free speech. The plaintiffs argue that the law threatens teachers, artists, small businesses, and cultural and scientific institutions, many of whom aren't connected to drag in any traditional sense. The lawsuit asked the court for an injunction against enforcing the law, a ruling declaring HB 359 unconstitutional, and damages for the plaintiffs who have already been affected. The lawsuit names various officials, including Attorney General Austin Knudsen, as defendants. I gotta say, that headline and it sounds like the opening line to a joke.
Sure does.
A pole dancer, a teacher, and a drag queen walk into a courtroom, but you know, what I'm happy to see is that, because presumably, you know, I hear, you know, while there are gay-owned breweries, and I want to find them all, because I want to support a gay brewery, but, you know, this is the first sign I've seen that our hetero allies are finally understanding, hey, these laws not only affect you, they're affecting your wallet and directly. And, you know, I'm happy to see that.
Yeah. Well, I'm still trying to wrap my head around the idea of LGBTQ plus people in Montana. But that aside, when these Republican lawmakers or whatever they are passed this, quote, breathtakingly ambiguous and overbroad bill, end quote, did they not anticipate that there would be lawsuits and challenges? I mean,
they probably know. I mean, they want there to be, because they want somebody to sue, and then they can take it to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court can make it national. That is what the Federalist Society wants. And what's really funny is passing laws like this doesn't benefit anyone because it creates precedent. So let's say that somebody in the future wants to target right-wing free speech. Then now we have precedent to go after right-wing free speech. So that's why you should always leave it alone.
It also buys them time, right? Like that is so many of these laws they know are not going to, you know, stand any kind of judicial challenge. But in the meantime, they get a lot of votes, they get a lot of support, And like, you know, whether it's a baker or a candlestick maker or whatever, of course, these laws are undemocratic and they affect each and every single one of us. And I love when we all stand together, though. I mean, that is, I know that there can be problems with bringing precedent and establishing precedent because it can create other, but in the other way, it's like, what do you do? Not fight it? Like, I mean, and
well, the interesting thing is in the original source article we all got, it talked about, and somebody may have to help my aging memory, but it talked about that the recently overturned Tennessee law.
Right.
So, I mean,
there's that. Yeah. And then there's intentionally injecting it into the judicial system because they want, I mean, especially with fake cases like we saw with the cake thing where
the web design.
It's funny because my head goes to the cake too because the cake wasn't long ago, but the hypothetical, like if I wanted to do a website, let me make this up.
They could just
the only person who may remember this is Greg. Lily Tomlin on Laughing. Would you please shut up about the cake?
Stop talking about the cake. Exactly.
Love cakes.
Okay. Well, next, let's queer up sports. Women's World Cup hosts record-breaking 87 LGBTQ plus female soccer players. Gay, lesbian, bisexual, trans, and queer soccer players who are publicly out are now at least 87 in total, make up nearly 12% of all the athletes competing in the 2023 FIFA Women's World Cup in Australia and New Zealand. These are dozens out of many LGBTQ plus athletes competing this year, far higher than any other previous World Cup. That's about 1 in every 9 players. It's an astounding number for an international competition at the highest level of a sport. That does not include the many other LGBTQ plus athletes who are not publicly out. It's a testament to how far major international women's sports have come in the presence and acceptance of LGBTQ plus athletes. This group of out athletes is more than double the size of the out LGBTQ plus group of athletes who competed in the 2019 Women's World Cup. While the number of teams in the tournament has grown by a third from 24 to 32, over the last 4 years, the number of out athletes has more than doubled. That reflects the growth of acceptance. Almost all of these athletes are from the Americas, Europe, and the host nations of Australia and New Zealand, where laws regarding LGBTQ plus people are generally more favorable than in Africa, the Middle East, and parts of Asia. Can't really say I'm surprised. I mean, some people would say they are with all of the laws happening in, I guess, America, but I'm not really surprised. I think really the sports arena, that whole thing, I know not a lot about as a gay, but they are taking in a lot of gay people. So,
well, that's my question. So soccer's the one with the ball with the geometric shapes on it, right?
Yeah.
Is that soccer? Okay, good.
Or I mean, maybe football. I mean,
technically volleyball has it's a different shape, but it also has geometric shape.
Here's the 5 sides. Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, go.
Well, first off, hats off to women. Now, again, I went to the number of USA women has dropped.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised with all the crap happening, but, you know, I want to know why it's always the women. I can name, and I am not a sports person by any stretch of the imagination, but I can name more current or former LGBTQ plus women athletes than men. And the only one I'm aware of who's active right now is that football player, Carl Nassib. And I only know his name because I'm going to die mad at him because he didn't date me.
But it's fair. Don't you think it's the macho of the locker room and the you're looking at me and all that stuff? It's like, no, we don't.
Well, that opens up a whole new conversation about toxic masculinity.
Well, yeah, right. Sure. That's what it is.
It also opens up like the misogyny of like conservative laws, protect women's sports.
That's
blah, blah,
exactly
blah.
right. The misogyny is the key story here because I mean, and all of these points is exactly what I was thinking about. That is like for so long when there's a first or whatever, people point to like a gay man in football or a gay man in basketball. But women's sports, they've had queer folks for a long, long time. It's just it's the way that society has historically just not taken women's sports seriously. and undermine them and not take, and like this story, I mean, queer spaces, whether they were in like softball leagues or soccer spaces or bowling leagues, right? They've always been a space for queer folks to kind of build community, to feel safe, and I mean, that's also often how, like during Anita Bryant, people threw oranges in to play softball in protest of Florida orange juice, right? Like, I mean, they have always been spaces for us to feel safe. And like this story, I am sure that there are so many more, as this story noted, that simply aren't out. So like, come out wherever you are.
Locker rooms are full of them.
That's right.
Right, representation. Next, we're going to queer up sports. Courts, rhymes with sports. We're going to queer up courts. Japan's Supreme Court rules transgender employee can use bathroom matching identity. Japan's Supreme Court handed down a landmark decision on Tuesday, ruling against a government agency that had barred a transgender employee from using the women's bathroom. The decision was the top court's first ruling involving the rights of sexual minorities in the workplace. The plaintiff is an employee in her 50s working at Japan's Ministry of Economy, Trade, and Industry. She was assigned a male gender at birth, but started living as a woman around 2008, except in the workplace. In 2009, she told her supervisor that she wanted to identify as a woman at work and requested permission to use the women's bathroom. The employee's request was granted, but only for a bathroom 2 floors away. The employee then filed a request to improve the situation to the National Personnel Authority, a Japanese administrative agency that protects the rights of civil servants, but was rejected. In 2015, the plaintiff filed a suit against the government at the Tokyo District Court, arguing that it was discriminatory to be banned from using certain bathrooms. 3 years later, the Tokyo District Court ruled that METI's decision was illegal and ordered the government to pay damages of $9,200. After the Tokyo High Court overturned that decision in 2021, the plaintiff took her case to the Supreme Court. Much of Japan has long held conservative views toward LGBTQ+ issues, and while polls in recent years have suggested attitudes are shifting, activists say discrimination is still commonplace. When I read this story, it reminded me of the scene in the movie Hidden Figures, where the Katherine Johnson character, played by Taraji Henson, has to explain to her boss that she has to go like 2 buildings away to use the bathroom because they were whites-only bathrooms, and how her boss then tore that sign down and said, and so this is what made, and I'm getting all emotional because I watched that scene today, and it's really powerful, but it's an amazing thing how change can be brought about in a workplace.
Here's an interesting thing. Japan is the only G7 country with no LGBTQ+ rights laws, and this is a victory. Plain and simple, this is a big-ass victory.
It's a labor issue, right? Like, I mean, that is like, I mean, amongst other things, this is it's very clear, right? That she's unable to do her job. She's unable to, like, I mean, this is employment discrimination, and just amongst many other things, right? And I think so often, trans people in the United States started going to the courts for similar things, for being fired or simply not being able to use the restrooms. There's just so many different ways that people have navigated this through the courts. This is an enormous victory for sure. And I wasn't thinking about that scene specifically, but the policing of people in the bathrooms has really deep anti-Black origins. In the United States, as in elsewhere, there is like the policing of these spaces often comes from like imperial or colonial and anti-Black sentiments. Like that is, they didn't just appear out of nowhere, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, next, let's queer up business. CNN issues apology after correspondent Ryan Young misgenders Dylan Mulvaney.
We went to Nashville. We even talked to a bar in Chicago. One bar was telling us basically they're not going to serve it because they don't like the way Dylan Mulvaney was treated after this whole controversy started. He, of course, is the transgender person they were going to sponsor and go along with Bud Light. They didn't like how Bud Light didn't stand by him after all this.
CNN apologized Wednesday for misgendering transgender influencer Dylan Mulvaney in a segment aired this week touching on Mulvaney's role in a right-wing boycott against Bud Light and its parent company, Anheuser-Busch. Bud Light has faced months of conservative backlash over a brief partnership with Mulvaney in March that involved a sponsored Instagram post. Sales of the beverage have plummeted since then, and Bud Light in June lost its spot as the nation's best-selling beer. In a Tuesday segment on the controversy, CNN national correspondent Ryan Young used male pronouns to refer to Mulvaney, a transgender woman. Left-wing journalist Mike Singleton shared the offending portion of the segment to show her disappointment. Transgender activist Erin Reed also slammed the news report, telling CNN to bring trans people to talk about trans news. Liberal influencer Tim Peacock even accused the network of committing hate speech by getting Mulvaney's preferred pronouns incorrect. CNN anchor Kate Bolduan issued an on-air apology saying that transgender influencer Dylan Mulvaney was mistakenly referred to by the wrong pronouns. She added, quote, CNN aims to honor individuals' ways of identifying themselves, and we apologize for that error, end quote. Though CNN has apologized for the mistake, making it in the first place was not expected from the network. Okay, brace yourself, children. For those of us who remember Outing, there's a part of me that wants to go, let's sort of take a similar tack and use the wrong pronouns on Ryan Young and see how she likes it.
Well, this does sound like something you'd expect from Newsmax or Fox, not from CNN. And the fact that it was a cisgender man doing the misgendering,
I'm going to add
not surprising.
I'm going to add a cisgender black man.
I think there's a lot of layers to the story, and I think that, so I feel Mulvaney's, not layers as in like there's a right and wrong or whatever, that is that I think Mulvaney, this was an injustice on Mulvaney for sure. Like that is like, and this is a real hurt, and like that is, and but I also think the apology here is not insignificant, and it is instructive here because it also now shows on a really national platform when a mistake happens, and I do believe that my understanding of this is that it was unintentional,
right?
And that is to make room for people to grow, and on this kind of level, it's not okay to use people as an example.
And they owned it.
Yeah. They owned it. Like I want to pay tribute to that too.
Yeah, and I'll say
the network owned it. He did not.
Well, not yet.
So
well, then we know. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I mean, maybe I'll look on his Twitter later and see. But I haven't heard from Ryan Young, so I'm not going to slam Ryan Young about it.
Yeah.
But I will say the network did the right thing by apologizing.
Yeah.
This happened on Fox. They probably would have just said, whatever.
Newsmax,
Right.
they
It wouldn't have been an
glossed
issue.
over it.
Yeah, and I do, that is like, and that only adds to the harm, right? Because there's no question there's harm done here, but the apology here is instructive too, right? To make room for people to understand and to grow from the mistake, right? And on a national space like this, it could be instructive for people saying like, that really is harmful, right? Like it teaches important lessons. But all that being said, the harm is still there. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's it. Next, we are proud of professional partnership with Sunshine Cathedral, the world's largest queer church here in Fort Lauderdale. Supporting that partnership, we are broadcasting from our permanent set here at Sunshine Cathedral at the Happening Out television studios. We broadcast Sunshine Cathedral's Sunday International Service at 10:30 a.m.
We finish tonight's Queer News headlines with a segment we call LGBTQ plus 1 Minute News.
LGBTQ plus 1 Minute News. Let's queer up sports 2.0. Pittsburgh area college soccer coach fired for LGBTQ plus support. The women's soccer coach at a Christian university near Pittsburgh was fired last month after she posted on Instagram affirming the value of queer people. Kelsey Morrison was escorted off the campus of Geneva College in Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania, on June 2nd. She identifies as gay, but remains celibate, keeping with the school's code, which forbids sex outside of heterosexual marriage. Since her firing, an assistant women's soccer coach, Dave Simmons, resigned in protest. Geneva College, which enrolls 1,180 students, is affiliated with the Reformed Presbyterian Church of North America, a small evangelical denomination with about 7,000 members.
LGBTQ plus 1 Minute News. Let's queer up politics. Virginia removes LGBTQ plus resource from state websites.
According to a service that archives websites, this is what the Department of Health's LGBT Youth Resources site looked like on May 31st. It included links to counseling services and the Trevor Project's crisis hotline. However, 2 resources are receiving pushback.
And to grant access for children to strangers, to other adults, to give them advice on sexual topics without their parents knowing just isn't right.
In May, the right-wing media outlet Daily Wire, co-founded by an anti-LGBTQ plus commentator, Ben Shapiro, raised questions about online resources offering services for queer youth linked to the Virginia Department of Health's website. One site, Queer Kid Stuff, provides informative entertainment to LGBTQ plus kids, parents, educators, and their allies. The other, Q Chat Stuff, offers live, facilitated chats for LGBTQ plus and questioning teens. The Daily Wire's inquiry about the websites on May 31st appeared to set off alarm bells, and within hours, the state government removed the entire LGBTQ plus resources for youth page. However, the decision elicited confusion from department leaders who hadn't been informed or consulted about the decision.
LGBTQ plus 1 Minute News. Let's queer up entertainment. South Florida filmmaker Peter Bisuito releases I Remember.
Say everybody, you're not my type.
What is your type?
Certainly not this.
Hey, come on, don't let that guy get you down. Just remember the old saying, beauty fades, dumb is forever. Judge Judy, I love her. Me too.
I'm Derek.
Hey, Derek. I'm Dom.
You are not only my soulmate, but you're my savior. You literally saved my life. You know where Dom is? He's missing.
It's over!
No, it's not over. Dom, don't go. No! Do you know where he is? I don't know where he is! He's missing!
Derek, you have to remember.
What if I can't?
The highly anticipated short film I Remember, written and directed by internationally acclaimed entertainer Peter Bisuito, will premiere at the prestigious Savor Cinema in Fort Lauderdale on Thursday, July 20th, 2023 at 7 p.m. It is a heartfelt short film that delves into the profound depths of human emotions. This emotionally charged narrative follows the journey of Derek Dawson, played by Robert Kutras, a man afflicted with repressed memory loss stemming from a traumatic experience he suffered. The trailer of the movie is already out and the tickets are available at mybigfunnypeter.com/I-remember.
LGBTQ plus 1 minute news. Let's queer up the USA view. Man arrested after stabbing person who tried to defend gay man.
These cars and yellow tape lined the Buckman neighborhood early Sunday morning after police say 32-year-old Colin Smith was stabbed to death.
He brought so much happiness and joy to my life.
His death is being felt by family, friends, and co-workers at Ox Restaurant, where he worked as a server.
Just full of life, really.
Danielle Smith is his sister, born 2 years and 5 days before Colin.
We'd share birthdays until we didn't want to share birthdays anymore.
Now birthdays are memories.
The U.S. Marshals arrested a 24-year-old Portland man on Friday afternoon in the deadly stabbing of Colin Smith in the neighborhood. He was presented in court this week. Ronnie Jackson, 24, faces second-degree murder charges. Police say Jackson stabbed Smith at a bar near Madison Street and 12th Avenue. Investigators say Smith was trying to de-escalate a fight between his friend and Jackson when Jackson stabbed him. On Monday, Jackson pleaded not guilty. He's due back in court next week.
LGBTQ plus 1 minute news. Let's queer up entertainment. Lesbian Top Chef legend Kristen Kish taking over as show's host. Top Chef legend and lesbian icon Kristen Kish will take the reins of the reality cooking show for its 21st season after longtime host Padma Lakshmi stepped down in June. Bravo announced that Kish would join chef Tom Colicchio and food writer Gail Simmons at the judges' table for the upcoming season, which will be filmed in Wisconsin. Kish won the 10th season of Top Chef in 2012 and has since remained a fan favorite. She's also no stranger to hosting food shows, as she's taken up the mantle on several programs, including 36 Hours, Fast Foodies, Netflix's revival of Iron Chef, and Restaurants at the End of the World. The premiere date for the season 21 of Top Chef has yet to be announced.
That is today's news for the LGBTQ plus community on the world's first and only daily LGBTQ plus evening news show.
If our community is important to you, share this news with your friends and family. Are you, like most of America, part of our very large television audience watching this live LGBTQ plus news broadcast right now on Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, and Amazon Fire TV?
Queer News Tonight is the only live LGBTQ plus digital television show in the world that is, quote, out of the closet and into the headlines. We need your support. If our community is to grow, we must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world. This is the only place in the world that tells these types of LGBTQ plus stories in motion and sound. That is the passion of Hotspots Magazine, Happening Now Television Network, and Queer News Tonight.
I'm your anchor, Julio Capo, and on behalf of these awesome LGBTQ plus reporters, my friends, the anchors of Queer News Tonight, including Elijah Manley, Bob Hentschel, and Gregg Shapiro. We will see you daily at 8 p.m. to our LGBTQ plus world. We see you, and we wish you a good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Later.
We are Queer News Tonight, the world's first and only live daily LGBTQ plus evening news show, brought to you from Happening Out Television Network. We operate in the same model of PBS and NPR, but for the LGBTQ plus community. We educate, inform, and entertain by supporting the 10 pillars of our LGBTQ plus community, with more than 100,000 a week watching us on Roku, Apple Television, and other channels. To keep the story going, we accept donations with 100% transparency. Stay updated and live authentically with Queer News Tonight.